Yo, what's going on, YouTube? It's your coach of the Oklahoma City Thundurus, Crimson, the real one, and today we have our draft analysis of the UAPB Season 2. Sorry if my voice sounds like shit, I'm feeling kind of down, but that's aside the point. Let's get right into it. So, first off, franchising. I chose to franchise literally the best league format mon in Tapu Koko. It's my Z mover as well for things like Guardian of Lola, potentially Z Brave Bird, Z Electric move like Wild Charge, Thunderbolt, even like a Z Grass Knot in case something like takes a regular one because it's light. Z Mirror move for like +2 speed. Other moves that this thing gets, it's pretty limited, but this thing is great on both sides of the attacking scale, attack and special attack, as well. It's got a good speed stat and can be semi-bulky with 70 HP, 85 defense, and 75 special defense, with moves like Roost and Calm Mind, stuff like that. It's a pretty good stall breaker with Taunt, as well as Nature's Madness, and Dazzling Gleam and like Wild Charge or something. I don't know. It's taunt breaking or stall breaking set all that well, but something like that. Next up, we have literally one of the best megas in the format in Mega Metacham. This is a mon where its pure power ability actually is amazing. Doubles its attack, which means you don't actually have to fully invest in your attack stat. This mon hits really hard. Switch-ins to this mon are very limited. There might be one switch-in per team to Mega Metacham, at most. And they usually don't double up as a Tapu Koko and Mega Metacham switch-in, unless they're just like really very, very bulky, like Fairy type or something. This mon gets great moves such as High Jump Kick / Drain Punch for stab, Zen Headbutt or Psycho Cut for stab, Elemental Punches, it gets all three, Rock Slide, it gets Poison Jab, Bullet Punch for priority, Fake Out for priority. I think that's about it, but in all honesty, that's all you really need. Elemental Punches and Stab is basically it, and some nice priority helps a lot. Base 100 speed tier is kind of average, but that's not that bad because, being that fast and all, it's kind of good for this one. Like, it's not the fastest, but, if it was any faster, I'm pretty sure it'd be broken, so, yeah. Thing has pretty solid defenses, base 60 HP, 85 defense, 85 speed F, gets recover. You can run like bulk up on this thing, bulk up drain punch or something to get recovery and to boost your HP. You could run like pain split if that ever needs to be ran for some reason. Gets toxic. One of the things I really don't like about my team that I drafted is, well, there's two things. One, the lack of a dragon type, and two, the lack of a solid Will-O-Wisper. I was going to pick up, Turtonator to cover both, but, that's not really a viable mon, and the fire type I have here is a lot better, in my opinion, than anything Turtonator could have been. Anyway, next up, we have Excadrill. We needed hazard removal. Well, we don't need hazard removal. Our team isn't really weak to it, but that's besides the point. Excadrill is solid hazard removal as well as a great rock setter. As you'll see later on in the draft, we do pick up a sand setter for this boy, so we can be either of the sand abilities, or we can be Scarf Mold Breaker. More than likely Sand Rush, though, because that's Excadrill's best set. Iron Head, Earthquake, Rapid Spin Rocks, Rock Slide, Swords Dance is great on this mon. Things like Magnet Rise have an interesting niche. But yeah, this mon really runs a pretty similar set from week to week, with the occasional, like, I don't know. Actually, I was gonna say like the occasional poison move for Tapu Koko, but we have Iron Head, so that's probably not necessary. Special drill if I feel like memeing with that base 50 special attack stat. This thing can be scarfed, life orb. I wanted to make this my Z mover, but Tapu Koko just seemed better. I don't know, choice banded sand rush, or like, who knows, choice banded mold breaker if they don't have an actual flying type. Sash lead. I said life orb. It can be like a Rocky Helmet bulky. It could be one of those 50% recover berries. This thing has a lot of potential roles it can play, but it's a great offensive and defensive threat. Next up, I have Hawlucha, and this pairs well with the Tapu Koko, since it can be Electric Seed. I was hoping they'd make something like a seed for weather, like, you pop it and get to like +1 attack in the sand or something. Although I could see how that could be broken. But yeah, the Electric Seed works well on this thing. You can run Power Herb, Sky Attack. This thing gets a lot of coverage. It gets Thunder Punch, Fire Punch, and no Ice Punch though. It gets Iron Head, fighting stab move like Drain Punch or High Jump Kick. This thing gets Flying Press, which is interesting. Never really gotten to use it, but I don't know, that might have a niche somewhere, I guess. What else? We have Acrobatics, which works well with Electric Seed, as well as every set of Hawlucha. Thing gets Bulk Up and Sword Stance. Its ability to set up a Tailwind to taunt things. Another Mold Breaker mon on my team just in case, but more than not, it's going to be Unburden. Could even be Limber, I guess, if I need an electric or a T-Wave switch in. But I don't know, I doubt it. Power Up Punch, Roost to make sure this mon lasts longer, potentially, as well as Sub, which is great on Hawlucha because this mon usually forces a lot of switch outs or, sacks if they're just trying to make sure you don't set up. So you can sub up to the scout and see what their play is, whether they want to switch or sack, and then, you can make your move from there. Next up, we have Decidueye. This mon is some of the needed bulk for this team. This team is lacking a lot of bulk, but Decidueye is a solid Pokemon. As well as, jack of all trades. It can be fairly well physically offensive, specially offensive, physically bulky, and specially bulky. You can even run it with a Choice Scarf with base 70 speed. It outspeeds a lot of things. I wouldn't say a lot of things. Actually, yeah, I would. It probably outspeeds like base 130. I think it's speed ties with base 130s, actually, if I remember correctly. You can run like Life Orb offensive, Rocky Helmet bulky, Leftovers bulky. I could even run Electric Seed on this thing if I need some physical defense. Choice, I already said Choice Scarf. No, there's a couple of items this thing can run, but more than that, it's usually going to be pretty bulky because, one, I really have problems with offensive grass types, and two, offensive grass types against other teams are very lackluster. Obviously, I might want this thing to have a stab move, but I usually won't be investing too much in it. Haze is great because setup is a problem for my team. Usually my way to beat setup is going to have to be a Scarfer of some kind. Like a fast Scarfer if it's like a speed boosting setup. Or like just a fast mon in general if it's like an attack boosting or like special attack boosting but not speed boosting setup. This thing gets setup options in Nasty Plot and Sword Stance, as well as the ability to Baton Pass. It gets Sucker Punch for priority, U-Turn for momentum, Toxic, and Roost. I would run Synthesis, but I have Sand, as well as Roost has more PP in general. So it's just a better move. Has the ability to trap things with Spirit Shackle, and it gives me a second hazard removal option with defog. And since my team isn't all that much of a hazard stacking team, I'm okay with defog, since my only hazards are rocks. But rocks are, the only one that really matter, unless you're trying to play hazard stack. And to be honest, I actually had a plan to hazard stack. I was gonna grab like Garbodor as my last pick, or one of my last picks, but I chose against it because, in all honesty, I've never used hazard stack before. I'm not all that experienced with it. Next up, we wanted a Wish Passer, since a lot of my team doesn't get recovery, and things like Tapu Koko are wearing itself down with recoil, and Metacham's gonna have to take a hit, potentially switching in sometimes to get a Mega off, and more than that, it's Excadrill is gonna be weakened by Life Orb and stuff like that. So this is a Wish Passer, a really solid Wish Passer, probably like top 3 in League format. I'd say like maybe Almamola might be better than it, and Almamola is more passive, but I still think it's better. And I'd say like Umbreon's probably the best one in League format. Anyway, Vaporeon's great because it gets Haze and Heal Bell, as well as the base 110 special attack, which means it's not really like free setup. So like, for example, like a Salamence doesn't really set up a Dragon Dance on this thing because I can Ice Beam it and do like 90% to it, and then Revenge Kill it with like Mega Metacham's priority or something. Scalds for burns. That's my best chance of getting burns on anything that isn't Magmortar, which is kind of unfortunate because I really am not going to be running Magmortar at all. I guess like a knockoff Fling Flame Orb Sneasel or some shit, but that's not a set. Let's see. Yeah, so we have we have Roar in case, we need like options that isn't Haze to, pivot him on out, or not pivot, phase him on out, Toxic, I said. Scald, yeah. Ice Beam's solid for those 4 times Ice Weeks. Wish Protect. Acid Armor's nice. What else? Reflect is solid if I want to get like a screen up. Get BP to like pass out a wish, like a slow pass, because the spawn's pretty slow. And I was gonna say one more thing. This mon actually gets decent coverage on the special side. He gets like Shadow Ball and Signal Beam. It's obviously not the greatest, but you can work with it, is the point. So next up, I wanted a solid normal type attacker. I was half on Zangoose, half on Tauros. I've used Zangoose like 4 times in League format, and every time it's been a little bit underwhelming, which is unfortunate because that's like actually my favorite mon. So I chose Tauros. It's a fast mon, a very fast mon with base 110 speed, as well as a strong physical attacker with sheer force, and since it got Body Slam recently, that is good for Tauros because it doesn't have to rely on Rock Climb and missing. Let's see. Base 40 special attack looks mediocre, but with sheer force, it's pretty decent. Things like Ice Beam and Fire Blast and Thunderbolt help hit 4 times weaks like Mance or Scizor or Gyarados or whatever. This mon is a solid pursuiter. Obviously, it doesn't work with sheer force, which is unfortunate, because like a sheer force pursuit would be pretty powerful. But it doesn't have a secondary effect. You can run Rock Slide on this mon instead of Stone Edge unless you really need that extra 1% damage or whatever it is. Gets Zen Headbutt for fighting types. Gets Wild Charge if I need terrain boosted moves, and that would hit very hard. Unfortunately, that's not boosted by sheer force, but whatever. The Earthquake. It gets Edgequake combo. It gets Iron Head, Outrage. This Mon has a lot of interesting coverage. Obviously, its best ability is Sheer Force, but Intimidate could have a niche, I guess, and Anger Point's just not runnable because this thing doesn't usually take hits, or doesn't take critical hits, rather. So here's the Sandsetter. I took it so late in the draft because I was not afraid of anyone taking it, but at that point, the rest of my Mons, I really wasn't afraid of anyone taking. So yeah, I took Gigalith. Can be a solid sturdy Mon. If I'm not bringing extra drill, I can bring it sturdy to take guaranteed one hit and get rocks up. But I still like Sandstream over that because this thing usually always takes one hit on the physical side and not so much on the special side, but with Sandstream that boosts your special defense by 1.5. This thing can also be Sand Force if I want to run manual sand, but I doubt that's going to have any purpose. But yeah, so this thing's a very strong hitter. It has base 135 special attack, rather, and 130 defense. 85 HP is pretty solid, and 80 SPDF is also pretty alright, especially with the sand boost. 60 special attacks, kind of whatever, but I'm not really going to be using this thing for special attacks anyway. And the 25 speed's alright because if someone has a Trick Room Mon like Reuniclus or something, I can underspeed creep that and, maybe do something to it, I don't know. But this Mon gets coverage like Heavy Slam, Stone Edge, Earthquake, Explosion. It can get a Totemized too if you ever want to run that. Totemized / Rock Polish, whatever suits you. Superpower gets Toxic. Unfortunately, it doesn't get recovery that isn't rest, which is the case for a lot of my Mons, but since I have electric terrain, rest is not all that great in terms of recovery. One of my 2 rock setters is this Gigalith, and with something like a Smooth Rock, Leftovers, Rocky Helmet, Focus Sash, even if I just need to take a hit and explode with this Mon for whatever reason. This Mon can do a lot. Yeah, but that's about it. It also gets Curse, I guess, if I want to set up and then try to rest and win with this Mon for whatever reason. But yeah, that's all I have on Gigalith. Sorry about that. It also gets Nature's Power, which is interesting because that'll give me Thunderbolt on Gigalith, but yeah, I doubt that's ever going to be needed. Next up, I have Magmortar. I needed a cheap budget Fire-type Mon in Tier 5 because that was all I could do at this point. Actually, I had one more Tier 4, but I was saving it, obviously. So I was going to take a Dragon with that, but, I got sidetracked, and I think it ended up being better that I took what I did instead of Guzzlord. Rip Guzz Daddy. Magmortar is great on the physical and special side. Gets coverage on the physical side such as Cross Chop, Earthquake, Fire Punch. It gets Rock Slide and Thunder Punch. Did I say Thunder Punch? No, I said Fire Punch. It's Thunder Punch, it gets priority in Mach Punch, and it also gets Power Up Punch. As well as Belly Drum, in case I can actually get that off with Flame Charge, and then I'd actually be in a great situation. On the special side, it gets things like Focus Blast, Thunderbolt, Fire Blast, Clear Smog if I have to remove stat boosts, and Psychic, and that's about it on the special side. Thankfully, that's pretty solid coverage, though. Focus Blast hits a lot of the dark types that Psychic wouldn't, as well as it being able to hit the steel types that Psychic wouldn't. And, fighting and Psychic is pretty solid coverage overall, as well as, fire coverage and electric coverage for the water types that it struggles to deal with. Magmortar has decent coverage all around. I might have to run this Mon a bit bulky sometimes because Will-O-Wisp is going to be an essential way to deal with physical attackers that I lack on this team. yeah, so that's about it for Magmortar. No recovery that isn't named Rest. Well, yeah, Rest. Um, so next up, we have Exploud. And yes, two normal type mons. I didn't want Exploud. I was going to take Guzzlord. But then a coach said, hey, uh, I meant to take Exploud. Looking back on it, I don't really want Sneasel. I want Exploud instead of Sneasel. I'm like, hey, I really need an Ice type on this team because Ice Shard priority is going to be amazing. So I said, here, you know what? Take the Exploud. I don't want it. And give me the Sneasel. And yeah, so I made a trade during the draft to to receive Sneasel as opposed to Exploud. And what I like about Sneasel is that it's essentially a mini Weavile. It works almost as well as Weavile since it's not equally as fast, but almost equally as fast, and also has basically the same stat distribution with a lot of attack and a lot of speed. Both mons usually like to be Z-moved, but Tapu Koko was too important, and so I decided just to give it, whatever item it wants that isn't a Z-move. So yeah, I can be Life Orb, Choice Band, Focus Sash, a Violite. And that's really about it. This mon doesn't have all that much versatility. Unfortunately, Pickpocket does not work with Natural Gift, as I've tried many times in the past. So that's unfortunate, but whatever. Natural Gift is solid on Sneasel. I really like having at least one Natural Gift mon, like that can actually hit hard with Natural Gift, because it's solid, like, backup coverage for something that might wall you, and your opponent isn't really expecting it, because Sneasel is usually pretty one-dimensional with Knockoff and Icicle Crash and Ice Shard and Poison Jab, or whatever. But like, having Natural Gift allows you to get coverage of any type that you might need for one game. That's pretty nice. Priority and Fake Out and Ice Shard, which is solid. Gets the ability to set up with Swords Dance. Ice Punch in case you don't want to miss your crashes. Knockoff is a great utility move, which I actually didn't have a single knockoff for up until this point. So Sneasel is my only knockoff mon, which is kind of unfortunate. Especially since Sneasel is always so pressed for moves. This is a mon that really struggles from 4-move slot syndrome, since you usually want to have priority Ice Shard, an actual strong hitting ice move, an Icicle Crash or Ice Punch. You want to have Pursuit some games to trap the psychic types, and you also want to have Knockoff to hit things hard and get rid of their items. But you also might need like Low Kick for bulky steals or Poison Jab for bulky fairies, and you might want to try to set up an SD with all of that. So like, there's a lot of moves that you might want in place of other moves, and that just isn't going to work out most of the time, which is unfortunate. Last but not least, I needed a mon that did not get destroyed by an electric type that was boosted by my own electric terrain. So I got a Lightning Rod Pikachu, and I was going to go for Raichu, but that got sniped. And technically within a Violet, I'm pretty sure Pikachu is more bulky than a Raichu. So that's something. Light Ball also makes this mon actually hit very hard. And since this thing gets setup options like Nasty Plot, it can actually hit really hard on the special side. Since it gets options like Surf for those ground types, as well as Grass Knot for ground types, it gets Thunderbolt. You might see me nuzzling something that, like, if the opposing team has a very speedy threat, I might just try to nuzzle it. Volt Switch for momentum. It gets Wish for recovery. It's a very bad Wish Passer, but it's a Wish Passer, so who knows. Gets extreme speed for priority, as well as the ability to fake things out, but you can't run them together because that would be pretty broken, actually. Pikachu broken. Oh, this is another knockoff. I forgot about that. But yeah, so with the Light Ball, that doubles your attacking stats, as well as base 90 speed, which is, alright. You can run agility on Pikachu as well, which actually helps it a lot. But my point being, this mon can actually hit really hard, and it takes the electric hits that I need. That isn't Excadrill. And while Excadrill isn't weak to obvious HP Ice that every electric type runs to hit ground types, I think electric types are actually going to be running HP Fire for my team to hit Excadrill as well as Decidueye. So yeah. Actually, does ground resist fire? I think ground does resist fire, actually. Does it? I actually have no idea. Whatever. So yeah. That's about all that Pikachu does. Oh, my bad. I forgot that it gets dual screens, light screen and reflect. Yeah, but that's actually just about all that Pikachu does. And that is my draft. These 11 Mons are, in my opinion, some of the best Mons. I got some really solid upper tier picks and some really meh lower tier picks, but I actually really like this draft. Like Tapu Koko, Mega Medicham, Excadrill, Hawlucha, a Sandsetter, and then like one Pokemon honestly just looks like an OU team. Like I basically have an OU team, but an OU team with 5 really shitty backups, but that's aside from the point. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. It's been your boy Crimson, aka Chef Ramsay, aka UAPB Season 2 champion. And I'm out. Peace.